Awesome, and we're live with yet another session on Insurjo 2024. This is week two, and I love the energy on the chat section. A little surprise, this is Suhas joining in from Adi's account, and we also have Abhay joining us as the co host for today. So, welcome for the first time in Insurjo 2024. Abhay, how are you doing?
Yeah,
Awesome. I think Abhay
cool.
is just give us a second. Yeah, I think just give us a second. We're checking on
Yes. Yeah, yeah. I think the screen is visible, right?
Yes, we can hear you all right. Abhay, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes. All good, all good.
Awesome, perfect. Welcome to Insurjo 2024, Abhay. I think first time
Mm,
on screen, but how are
yeah.
you feeling?
Good to be back. I think in all the previous cohorts, product-led growth to previous Insurjo sessions, I've had a chance to host a couple of sessions during each cohort. So this is the first one for Insurjo 24. Hoping to be back at least few more times before we end the cohort.
Absolutely. Welcome. And folks, for those who joined in on our last session, we have a couple of interesting questions coming up on screen while we wait for everyone else to join in. This time, for those who answer the questions first, right? So the right answer first, do get a
Yeah,
small sweet treat from our side. We'll call out
yeah.
the winners right after this. So please do, and we'll also share who you need to DM to get your prize. But let's get started. Abhay, if you're ready, it
Yeah.
is pop quiz time.
Yeah. So the first question for today, we'll quickly skim through the questions. I think is here. Uh, Imagine a popular ride-sharing app faces complaints about the long wait times. What among the existing feature could be optimized? Is what you think? Okay, so the question is not about the app. The question is about the feature. What feature you think can be added? Okay, some people are mentioning pre-booking, IVR, carpooling, searching for the ride, advanced booking, pre-booking, carpool, cancellations, pre-booking, car locations, ride cancellations. Cool. We have a few interesting answers already. So I'll just give a cue. It'll be a mix of answers, but yeah, overall I think real time driver location visibility and surge pricing. Both of those options can be explored. A few
Abhay,
folks had
did
yeah.
you get a chance to see who got the right answer first? I see, like the
Actually,
chat.
surge pricing was not mentioned. I was trying to find among the first
There is,
50 odd
yeah,
comments.
someone mentioning it now. But yeah,
Yeah,
folks,
people are mentioning it now.
got it. I think this time slightly harder than last time, right? Last time everyone was getting the answers super soon. We have
Yeah.
one more question coming up on screen for you all. So, folks,
Yeah.
time to get your fingers ready for this one.
Yeah.
Um, Abhay,
So
over
here
to
it
you.
is on screen. An e-commerce platform wants to increase the customer loyalty and repeat purchase. What hidden feature could be leveraged for the user behavior? Cashback rewards. I think I got the right answers and the person's name as well this time. But yeah, keep guessing, keep guessing. Yeah, yeah. So the right answer for this is subscription. That subscription based on the previous and past purchases can be used and optimized. And I think Rohit was the first one to mention Rohit Ja. So Rohit, I think if you're here, feel free to DM Mansukh from the team or Tanmay, and you will be getting rewards. Yeah. So before we move
Nice
into the
one.
today, yeah. Would like to give shout out to all the partners, Web Engage, Dscope, Mo Engage, Airmeet, and Stream. Shout out to them, because of which we are able to conduct these sessions and have all of you across all the sessions that we are doing. Mentors, I think we have done already 2 sessions for the cohort with Ravi and Rishi. Today we are having the third one with Anshumani, but there is a lot to go. We have still not reached the halfway with the sessions.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Abhay. And like someone mentioned on the chat section, I think you're absolutely right. I think there can be multiple right answers to this one. So next time we'll do a brands one where there is only one right answer. But yeah, we want to make it slightly harder for you, and we'll do a couple more of these. But yeah, like Abhay was sharing, huge shout out to our partners, and I'm really excited for this session because I think why the session is different from the rest is it is completely case study based. And for those who know Anshumani already or have attended some of his previous sessions, know that he is a very prolific first principles thinker, right? So you'll enjoy the session, that I can promise you. And it is very related to all the stuff that you've already been working on or have learned over the past week, right? Many of you all participated in the assignment. Some of you all did the onboarding assignment. So, he has a very interesting way to approach the problem statements, and he'll be working you through that. It's a very interactive session. So, bring your notebooks out there, um, get in front of your laptop so you can interact with him. And also, I think there is a very interesting problem statement that he will be sharing with you all towards the end of this. That will be your week 2 assignment, right? Apart from that, yes, all the winners of the previous sessions will be announced post Anshumani session. So over the next hour, it is going to be him on stage walking you through a couple of interesting problem statements. So it is a problem solving workshop. It is a live workshop. So get set and go here. We will be bringing him on stage very shortly. Over the next 45 minutes, you should be able to interact with him. Post which, we will also take up any questions that you'll have. Right, we'll bring up those questions from the chat section as usual. We have Anshumani with us on stage now, and we will hand over the mic to him to take over for the next 45. Anshumani, welcome to Insurjo 2024.
Good to be here. Thanks, Suhas. Thanks, Abhay. Just the chat section is the most entertaining and sort of most happening session that I've seen in a long time. It's good to see, large group of people really engaging. So it's fantastic. So I hope all of us derive a lot of joy out of this session, and hopefully a lot of learning, both for me and as well as for all of you. The idea is to keep this as interactive as possible. I have some material. I'll take you guys through it take all of you through it for about 40-45 minutes. Again, I'll be asking a lot of questions. So the chat section, keep it going. Keep answering. Abhay and Suhas will help me sort of like distill out the answers so that we can make something concrete out of it. And then if you have questions which are not just related to this session, but in general questions about product management and about this discipline of ours, please add them to the Q&A section so that other people can upvote them. That way, at the end, we'll have like a good filtered list of questions that I can answer, right? And I'll stay as long as I can and try and answer as many questions, right? Just give me 30 seconds. I'm just going to bring up my shared screen, and then we should get in. Show off thumbs up emojis if everyone is ready for the session.
Yep, lots of thumbs up coming up on our screen.
Lots of thumbs up. Okay, it's going to be difficult to sort of keep track of the presentation and the chat section. So Abhay and everyone else helping me and letting me know in case anyone has any questions specific to what I'm just sharing on that screen. Ask the question in the chat. Not in the Q&A section, so that I can pause and actually explain if something is not clear. Okay, so today's session is on this workshop, so to say, is on how to navigate product challenges. Now, I've had the good fortune of working at some very interesting companies. I've been at Google for the last 3 years. Before that, I was at Hotstar, which became Disney Plus Hotstar while I was there. So from 2018 to 2021, and I was responsible with my team for building the entire sports experience, social experience on Hotstar, all the live sports streaming, all the records that have now been broken up broken by my friends at GeoCinema, used to be held by us on user concurrency, etc. So we'll talk about those. Before that, I've worked at places like QMath and Practo, and spent a lot of time in gaming, ran my own game studio, and used to work at Zynga back in the day. So if anyone has issues throwing sheep at each other while playing Farmville back when perhaps a lot of you were kids, and maybe some of you were teenagers, and maybe hopefully a few of you used to be in college, but that would really age you. So I'm guessing none of you were in college back when Zynga's games were truly popular, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about I have two case studies, one from my time at Practo and another one from my time at Hotstar. And in general, I find it that when people ask me questions about product management, it is a lot more helpful if I give them advice, or if I answer that question based on something that I have done, that's something that I have built, because it helps contextualize the answer for them. And I think that's what we're going to try and do, right, today as well. Okay, first thing, in the chat, type in your favorite tech product, an app, a website, any tech product that you use. But when I say favorite, I mean something that you truly love. So don't say WhatsApp if you don't really love WhatsApp, right? I mean something that you recommend to your friends, to your family, something that you chat about to other people. I see somebody said Google Pay, it won't get you any brownie points, even it's a product very close to my heart, and I spent 2.5 years working on it and building it. But thank you for that answer. I see Zomato, Credit, Swiggy, whole bunch of. But again, look at the intent of the question. I'm asking you guys to think about, when was the last time you discussed a product with somebody? Like, you literally took out your phone and told someone, "Hey, have you seen this app? Have you seen this product? It's so amazing. Have you seen its onboarding flow? Have you seen how they do this particular feature?" Or so think about that, right? Where you like talking about the product. Is there some disturbance? I just saw somewhere that I think my internet connection is showing yellow lines, so I'm getting my audio broke for a bit in between. Right? Okay, yeah. That's really good. Now keep this. You can pause now on the chat, but keep your answer in mind, because this answer is going to be important at the end of this session today. So we'll come back to this at the end of the workshop. The good thing is I've gotten you into the. Thank you for saying PhonePe also. It's always good to think about the competitors as well. Okay, let's now first come to our first problem statement for today, right? The scenario is, imagine we are at Hotstar. We are at Disney plus Hotstar. It's 2019, so it's pre-pandemic. At this point, Hotstar had the rights to all the IPL. It had 5-year rights to the IPLs, had BCCI rights, which meant any matches featuring India in India and outside India, they had the rights. And they also had the ICC rights, right, which meant all the international matches. So in 2019, for example, we had IPL, we had the Cricket World Cup, and we had a bunch of series in which India played, right? So for us, Hotstar was the home for cricket. And our team collectively spent a lot of time figuring out the best possible live sports experience that we could build. Suhas, let me know if my video is stuck. I just see a few chat comments saying video is stuck.
Actually, I think it's back. It was just momentarily.
Momentarily. Okay, got it. We also held all the concurrency and live streaming records at that time, right? So we were the first ones to get to 10 million live concurrent users simultaneously, and then went to 13 million, and then went to 25 million. So the last time this record was held was the India-New Zealand semi-final in the 2019 World Cup, right? Which was broken very recently by JioCinemas, and they've broken their own record now twice successively. A lot of good friends work at Jio, so I'm very happy that the record is broken by people who were also partly responsible for, and in a lot of ways, in a big way, responsible for the original record at Hotstar, right? So we've had, imagine now you're in this scenario, you are a PM at Hotstar, and you've had a super successful IPL and World Cup. Now, during this time, we built a bunch of really, really cool features. So for all of you who would have checked the stream on your phones, You could watch the match live. You could play this game called Watch and Play. So while watching the match, you could predict what was going to happen on the next ball. You could connect with your friends. You could chat with people. You could take pictures and add filters to them and send them out. You could win crazy number of prizes. There are a whole bunch of engagement sort of features. You could wave at your friends, and you could just chat with specifically with your friends. So there was a friends only chat mode. There were a whole bunch of things that we built. And more importantly, there was this live emoji stream. People used to send billions of emojis while these matches were going on. In 2019, there was more social chatter on Hotstar than Twitter and Facebook put together around Cricket World Cup and around IPL. So I don't think people realize that Hotstar actually at that point was the biggest social network in India, right? During live, and this was only during live matches. We were not even on 24/7. This was only during the live matches, only during the 4 hours when an IPL was going on, or the 8-9 hours of a ODI match going on, right? So these are all the things that we built. Now imagine all this is in place. Now, first question, right? What are some of the apps? So you're a PM. There was a match last evening, right? Say there's a CSK versus MI match, which hopefully CSK won. I'm a CSK fan, and I know a lot of you would be MI fans. But imagine if this match happened yesterday, and today morning we come to the office, and I sit with my team and I say, hey, let's look at the metrics. Let's look at what happened yesterday. So I want all of you to think about what are the metrics. And on the next slide, I'm actually going to, Suhas and Abhay will help me add some of these metrics. So I'm really glad that some of you have already started chiming in. I'm going to live edit some of these. So I'm seeing what is the first metric you want to see?
And people, first thing that I'm seeing a lot of people talk about is downtime, uptime. What is the metric around that?
Okay. So something around downtime, uptime. Believe me, if there was downtime, we'd all be losing our jobs. Right? There's a massive sort of CDN environment. You ensure that there is uptime, even if the other services don't work. The live stream has to work. Of course, there's still chances of failures, but there are things that you have multiple live streams coming from the stadium to your distribution center, and from there going across. So there's a lot of checks and balances, but sure, downtime, uptime, but a whole bunch of latency issues and things like that. So imagine that there is, but I want you to think more about user metrics, right? So I'm seeing watch time. A lot of you are saying watch time, right? So we're going to define watch time as number of minutes per user, right? So our watch time is going to be measured in. So if I am watching a stream and if I see 30 seconds of it, then I've seen 0.5 minutes of a stream, right? So that's how we're going to track watch time at a user level, right? So number of minutes per user. I'm also seeing number of users, right?
Total
So
number of users. Yeah.
we want to give this metric a name. We are not talking about number of people in the app, but we should actually talk about number of people in the app also. So number of people who visit the app. Now, should this be number of unique people who visit the app, right? Which is also called daily active user base, or you could be more traditional about it and call it DAUU, daily active unique users, even though actually by default, we say DAU is unique, right? But then we are saying number of people who watched the match, right? And we'll say at least started the live stream and saw a few seconds of it, right? So we call them the daily video users, right? So number of users who started the video stream, right? So part of the DAUs, the funnel is everyone who came to the app. Some of them clicked a video and started it, and they will be counted as DVU. Of them, DVU on the match stream is what we are interested in, which is people who actually saw the stream, because somebody else could have come and seen a Hindi television show, right? A Saas Bahu show. Somebody could have come, because we are also the home for all the entertainment, right? All the entertainment channels in India, especially all the star channels, right? So DVU on the match stream. Now I'm seeing things like, which I'm going to move to this column. I'm seeing things like average watch time per user, which will be take the total watch time of the match, right, and divide it by DVU. So if 50 million people saw this match, and this match had 1 billion minutes of watch time, which means on an average, users saw 20 minutes of the match, right? 50 into 20 would give us 1,000, right? So 50 million watching for 20 minutes on each, right? So I'm going to put that as an example. Let's take a better example, which was closer to the numbers back then. 25 million users. Total watch time of the match, right? So total watch time was 25 million into was about 1 billion, right? Billion minutes divided by 25 million users, right? So about 40 minutes, right? Anything else, Suhas? Anything high? Okay, concurrency, viewership. Somebody said, Srinivas, I'm sure you were not the first one, but maybe others have also said it. Concurrency, right, which is viewership.
Yeah.
So at any given point, we would want to measure concurrency. So this is the technical term that we would use in streaming, which is in any given 1 minute segment, what is the number of people who are watching the stream, right? So number of live viewers, right? Live viewers in a given minute. And then you can also look at things like peak concurrency, as somebody mentioned. We actually used to have a live counter on the match. On the top, it used to show what the concurrency was, not the total viewers. It used to show the unique viewers at that particular time.
Correct.
Prince has made a very beautiful point saying, should we not be calculating median watch time? Very well said. And we'll talk about that. So Prince, you've already sort of preempted something that I'm going to talk about, why averages are such a bad metric to look at. But median is a very critical one. But I would say median watch time. But I would actually say percentile distribution. Let's go one step further. Percentile distribution of watch time, right?
Yep. I think another interesting is drop-off points. Where do users start churning out?
When users see drop-off point in a live match, again, would be shown sort of like, when the match gets boring, fewer people are watching it. But a drop-off point is more interesting in a video on demand. In a movie, figuring out when the movie is boring, or in a television episode, when do people stop watching the episode, is a more critical thing. But sure, if you measure the overall concurrency and those peaks and troughs, you'll know when the match became boring, when the match was very interesting, right? Anything else? I see social engagement. Yes, I think a whole bunch of, because we had built all these features, social engagement, how many emojis were sent out, per user, how many chats, right? We'll do that. But at this point, I'm parking this, right? I'm saying social engagement, we have a good handle on, right? But I want you to come up with more basic stuff on the. Okay. So
number of ads watched could be an interesting one.
Ads watched, yes, you're monetizing this. We used to run the stream for free. Then and it was a ads-driven business. Then we moved to a paid model only, a subscription-only model in 2021, which was a very interesting move. So you needed a subscription to Disney Plus to be able to watch the match. Right? Now, one thing that I did not see, please correct me if I haven't seen this, is total number of sessions. So we pointed out DVU. So we've spoken about number of unique people who visited the app and the number of unique people who saw the stream, right? How many times did they come back? So total sessions. And we're going to talk about why this matters. Because the match is 3 hours long. Do all of you sit watch the entire match? 3.5 hours long is the 3 hours, 40 minutes is the typical length of a T20 match in India, an IPL match. You're not going to sit and watch it in one single go, which means as a user, you keep coming back. So while I'm very interested in the unique viewers, I'm also very keenly interested in how many times that user came back and then how much time. So we just calculated average watch time to be 1 billion minutes divided by 25 million users, and it came out to be 40 minutes. Now, clearly the user did not see this whole thing 40 minutes in one single go, right? they saw it in chunks, and that bit is important, right? So number of sessions, right? So when you get total sessions, then you can also do interesting things like average sessions per user, as well as a percentile distribution of sessions. Okay, cool. Now let's move to, this is a good set, right? Sorry.
So, Anshuman, another interesting one was I'm curious to know if you'll also track where a user is joining in from, what device, etc. Or
So look,
nothing.
okay, types of devices,
Channels, etc.
locations. Remember, we had an iOS app, we had a Android app, we had television apps, we had apps specifically built for the Samsung TV, for WebOS. So they were for Amazon for the Prime Stick, right?
Yeah.
The Fire Stick. So there are a whole bunch of, for Apple TV. So there were a whole bunch of these things. But let's focus on a few, right? The things which are very critical. And so the thing that I tell my PMs is that, yes, you can do a deep dive into metrics, but first and foremost, be like a doctor. What does that mean? Which means when you go to a doctor, suppose you go for a regular health checkup, and doctors typically, they measure your weight, they immediately they measure your heartbeats, they measure your blood pressure. So there are certain things that any doctor will check, and then they will prescribe a few more tests, right? They look at blood cholesterol level, and they'll look at red blood counts, RBC count, and WBC counts, and things like that, right? Network is bad in between. A lot of audio breaks.
Slightly, I think I'm also sure. I'm seeing the
video.
icon on screen. I think your network is slightly slow. I guess it's getting stuck in between.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to connect.
No worries. I think we can hear you now.
I think, yeah. It's also because we have a lot of people on this chat, so the latency of this live stream is also going to be pretty high, and probably confused right now, right? So what I always advise my PMs is that just like you, when you go to a doctor, the doctor sees health metrics for you. What are the health metrics for your product? How do you know that your product is actually doing well, right? And in this case, there was a match yesterday, right? And you're trying to figure out that, okay, how many people saw the match? So that's the first thing. How many distinct viewers logged in, which is DVU? How many times did they log in? And then how much total time did they spend, right? And then we can think about averages and percentile distribution and concurrency at any given time. What were the peaks? What were the troughs? Because by looking at all these data points, we'll get a sense of, was it a successful match? Because our friends over at Star Sports would always ask us that, hey, your numbers are growing, and sort of like, what's happening? Was this the most important match? And this was all feedback. This was all insights that we would also give back to BCCI and to IPL, telling them who's the most popular player, which are the most popular teams, what time should the match actually start, right? So believe me, we were responsible for changing match start times. And on days when there were two matches, those two matches happened at those specific times because we were able to figure out when a match should end so that more people can be logged in. Because remember, kids have to go to school the next day. So parents are very iffy about keeping their kids up after midnight. So match should ideally end by 11:30, which means it should start by 7:30. So originally the match start time used to be 8, but we moved the match start time to 7:30, and the toss used to be at 7:05 for this very reason, right? So now let's move to the next part. Now you've analyzed this data, and based on this data, some strange things are happening, right? You notice that multiple short sessions are there, which means the same user comes in multiple times, right? So we said, okay, 40 minutes is our average watch time. So yeah, we made up that number, 1 billion divided by 25. Imagine if 40 minutes was your average watch time of the match. But people are not watching it in one single chunk of 40 minutes. They keep coming back. And it actually turns out that most users are coming back for 2 or 3 minutes. Now, the average time taken for one ball in IPL is about 45 seconds, end to end. If Ravindra Jadeja is bowling, it will be much faster. His average bowl time actually drops below 30 seconds, right? He's insane. He runs through his over really, really fast. And then, you have fast bowlers and people with long run, like literally will be running a lot more. There'll be sixes and fours hit. There'll be a lot of fielding. But we realize that about 45 seconds is what it takes. But if the user is only staying for 2.5 minutes, that means they're barely seeing 3 balls or 4 balls. So a user comes in. First thing is, why does the user come in at that specific point in the match? Like, how did they know that right now Dhoni had come out to bat? How did they know that Virat was playing really well and hitting sixes? And they came in, and I'm already seeing some really good answers flowing in, right? So our competitors, CricBuzz and Cricinfo, were doing some very interesting things, right? So people knew when to come in, or they were watching it on TV. But remember, this is the primary thing that people are doing is they're watching it on their phone. Standing in a Mumbai local, somebody has their phone or in their car, which is super dangerous. When cab drivers are driving, but their phones would be on. But most people would actually be holding their phone like this and not even seeing it full screen. They'd be holding it vertical, and which is why we built the feed that way, because most people used to watch the game like this, right? You would assume that everyone is watching it full screen and horizontal view, but actually vertical view was the most common way in which people watched matches, right? We also saw that viewership and concurrency peaks when a player is batting well, beginning of match, end of innings, top players on the field. That is when concurrency would go up, right? And that is when people would come in, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, somebody got out, let's go out, right? And then we'll talk about why average watch time is an indicator. So I want to move to the next one. Badly drawn graph, because I obviously no longer have access to my Hotstar data, right? I wish I had, but I don't, right? So suppose on the x-axis, I put in the time of the match, so the over or the actual timestamp, right? So it's an evening match, and we start pulling this graph. When the stream goes live, the stream actually goes live at around 6:30, right? So that beginning of the graph would be 6:30 for an evening match, and it will go on till the end of the match, the price distribution, everything, till finally the stream would actually shut and we'd start playing the replay of the match or the highlights of the match. So it will go on till about, for a full match, which is 2020, both the innings are 2020 overs. It'll go on, dude, Ashutosh, my drawing is not that bad also, man. You're saying my drawing skills are also at the same level, which means our drawing skills are pretty good, right? So the end of the match is at 11:30 or midnight. And on the y-axis, we are drawing the number of live users, so concurrency, right, in any given minute. Now, can somebody tell me what is that very first peak? There's a small peak right at the beginning. Guesses for what that peak is? Toss. Very good answer. So right there, the stream started at 6:30. At 7:05, the toss happened. So everyone loves to come in and see who won the toss, right? And then they again disappear. And then the bottom trough is like match is about to begin and slowly things start to rise, right? The yellow markers are roughly 5 overs, right? Openers are usually solid batsmen, and if in this particular match both the batsmen are doing well, you'll see like suddenly the viewership number, your concurrency number starts going up. And then a few wickets fall, and then people are like, oh, my favorite player is out. As I said, people are only watching for a few minutes. So again, it drops down. And then we know that, after the power play over, the power play overs are over, right? And things start slowing down between the 10th to the 14th over, 15th over. And then again, the last 5 overs, people go berserk, and your, live users start going up, and the number of runs being scored go up. And then there is the innings break, right? And then again, second inning starts, again, things start climbing. Now, in this particular case, who won this match? First team, Milan. It's interesting. Why? Because there are 2 ways of looking at it. Either the second team batted really, really well and actually won the match by 12th or 13th over, or they got all out.
Yeah.
right? And the match ended early. The second innings ended early. It's actually difficult because this graph can point to both things. But if the second team had won, the peak would have been much higher. Why? Because they would have been hitting crazy numbers of fours and sixes. So your concurrency would have, between the 10th to 15th over, had they won, your concurrency would be actually almost 1.5 times to 2x of the first innings concurrency, right?
Correct.
Because here it's only partially higher than that, right? Actually, yeah, whoever said CSK one is right. Doesn't matter who batted first or who batted second. Uh, but clearly, the other way of looking at this is that the team batting first, when they were bowling, they got the other team out pretty fast, and by the 13th or 14th over, the match was over. So this was one of the matches which actually got, like, didn't go all the way to 3.5 hours, got done, and then sort of, award ceremony and everything. The concurrency goes down. In fact, we are always in a hurry to show the highlights of the game. So we would replace the game stream the moment game would get over. We had a feature which could actually generate, before AI became a buzz, would actually create, auto edit and create the top, like a very rough cut of the highlights of a match within a minute of a match getting over. And then our editorial team would do a much better job of a very clean cut thing 15 or 20 minutes later. But there was an auto generated highlight package which was generated within a minute or two of the match getting done, right? Okay, so now we've looked at this, right? Like, this is the kind of depth. I hope all of you one day get to work at a company which is so obsessive about data in a good way, but more importantly, has access to data like this. In a content business, in a live streaming kind of business, of course, you have access to this. Video on demand won't necessarily do all of these things, but live streaming would, right? The second thing that I did was somebody's great comment earlier about we should not be looking at averages, we should be doing percentile distribution, right? So imagine if I did deciles of users. So I'm basically breaking we said 25 million users came in, right? So 25 million unique users, I'm chopping them up into chunks of 10, 10, 10%. So the bottom 10% are the users who watch the match the least. So their watch time is literally a few minutes. And then median is the 50th percentile user, right? And the median user, which is at least half or more than half of these users saw a certain watch time. And then you see that the top decile are the users with the maximum watch time. These are people who probably sat, like, super, like, fans who sat and saw the entire match. Their watch time would probably be 4 hours or 3 hours. These are the people who start the stream when the stream starts. They watch the toss. They watch the, watch the award ceremony at the end, right? So then the red line that you draw is the average. Now, the weird part is, not the weird part, actually, this is something that you should know, that in a content business, it's very, very rare for your median ever to be at the same level as your average. Most businesses will be that if your average is here, your median is below. That big gap that you're seeing between the median and average is there. And what that means is that in content consumption, a very small percentage of users actually consume the maximum amount of content. So their watch time overshadows everything. So out of that billion minutes of watch time, something like 300, 400 million minutes of watch time would come from a small chunk of users, even more, right? But you have a long tail also, which adds, but your median is below the average. As somebody said, Tanya is saying Pareto, for sure, right? This is important, and which is why averages matter, but median and sort of percentile distribution matters a lot more, especially if you're running a content business. Now, why? Why this is important is because we know multiple short sessions happen, so a few minutes in length at max, under and over. Viewership concurrency peaks when a player is batting well, and as a lot of you pointed out, the typical way in which people actually watch a match is they have Cricinfo or CricBuzz running on their work laptop somewhere where the live score is showing. And when the things start improving, they immediately flip over to the live match because, oh, my favorite player is batting, or, oh, somebody is batting really well, oh, or the innings is about to get over, or it's the last 3 overs in the inning, or it's the toss, right? So we realized also the great advantage of being at Disney at this point was that Cricinfo was a sister company. ESPN Cricinfo is also owned by Disney, right? But CricBuzz is the big beast in live cricket scorecards in India, right? And we could see that CricBuzz had crazy DAU. It's a very simple app, right? It's an app which great articles and sort of live scorecards. But what they did really well was live scores. So we said, hey, users actually put in a lot of effort. So first you have to open the Hotstar app. Then on the masthead, the top part, a live match is usually there. So they click on that, they go into the match. We load the stream. They figure out, okay, the fourth over is going on. My favorite batsman is batting. Oh, he got out. Okay, let me go out. Now they have exited. They will wait. They'll keep looking at Crick Info. They'll keep checking Crick Buzz. And they would keep trying to figure out when should I come back in and watch a few more minutes. Because remember, right now they're commuting. They are at work, they're commuting, they're doing something, they're doing work. They might be driving a car. They don't want to be seeing this, right? So Crick Buzz does something very, very simple, but it does it really, really well. Thanks, Avinash, for pointing that out, right? It's very good at telling the score. So is Crick Info. But we said, how do we take that simplicity, right? Me as a product manager, I have a very clear thinking. When I was at Hotstar, we wanted to own cricket. And by that, I mean, we want to own the entire cricket experience, right? We built all these things, live streams and, people engaging with the game. Why are they going to another app? It's so weird. They're switching between apps because, of course, video streamings, they're data intensive, and they don't want to watch that, right, all the time, especially if the match gets boring. But they are looking at the live ball-by-ball commentary, text commentary on Crick Buzz or Crick Info. So how do we bring them from that to inside the Hotstar app? And in fact, how do we create that experience, right? And this is the way one problem solves, right? When you have access to data and when you start looking at user behavior, you start looking at how people engage, you start seeing these spikes, and you're seeing these spikes and you're like, oh, okay, people definitely are getting these inputs from other places. They are figuring out from Crick Buzz and from Crick Info, right, that now is the right time for us to flip over to the match. Or, walking around, they've seen somebody else's live screen. So they're like, oh, okay, that guy's hitting sixes. Let me look at that. So there's word of mouth and there's a whole bunch of chatter, right, because of which they do this. And then the second problem that we wanted to solve was that, okay, our top users are great. People in the 80th, 90th, 70th percentile, the top quartile, the top 25% is fantastic. Median is below average. How do I get my median user to watch more? Like, I want more than 50% of my users to watch more. And then my bottom users who only come for a few minutes, they probably only come at the end of the match, or they only come at the end of an inning, right? So how do the users, then this leads you to questions. How do the users know what is happening in the match? How does concurrency spike at specific moments in the match? How can we get the user back to the live game with the least amount of friction? How do you get the user directly into the game, right? They have just seen that it's over number 17.3 and Dhoni's hit a 6. They want to come in and watch the replay for 17.3 and they want to watch 17.4. So you have to pull them back at the right time. How do we get the median watch time up? And how do we get the bottom quartile, the bottom 25% to watch more? Right? So what we did, and a lot of you have already pointed out what we did. We essentially created a silent sticky scorecard. It is still there for all of you who are on Android. This is an Android-only feature because sticky scorecards are a bit iffy on Apple. It can be dismissed. It is powered by Crick Info, so it gets the best ball-by-ball commentary, and I can tell you Crick Info's quality is better than Crick Buzz, even though Crick Buzz's latency is lower and their tech is better. And essentially what we did is, so the sticky scorecard goes live before the start of the match. In fact, it goes live just before the toss. So my connection is a bit iffy. I'll just pause for a minute.
I think we can hear you.
It's back. Right? So we said, okay, we want to create a real-time ball-by-ball update, which has commentary from Crick Info. Easy way to get back into the game. So when you click this, watch now, it takes you to the live stream of the game. It doesn't take you just into the app's homepage. It actually takes you right to the game. Now, the secret that all of you should know is there is a delay from when the match is happening at the stadium to when you're seeing it at Star Sports. So between any live stream anywhere, for very clear legal reasons and for the laws around this. Every live stream has to be shown at a certain delay. But obviously, you realize that there are cameras recording this, and this is being streamed, and then it's being uploaded to satellites, and then it's coming down, and you are catching it on your dish. There are real lags between this whole thing, but there is also an artificial lag which is put in, and this lag is typically 10 to 15 seconds. But on your phone, remember, it also has to cache, right? And live streaming is harder. So, and all of you would have noticed this, that if you turn the match on TV and turn it on Hotstar or Jio or anything else, this thing is slightly behind. Sometimes it's a ball behind. So that is at a 10-second delay, and this is on an average at a 17-second delay. But ESPN's scorer is sitting and watching the stadium feed, which is at zero lag, which means the live commentary for CricBuzz, Cricinfo is happening real time, like literally 17.26. They are the first ones to know it was a 6. It's almost like they're sitting at the stadium. There's a scorekeeper who's literally not sitting at the stadium, but watching the live stadium feed, which is at no delay, right? What that means is, if on this sticky scorecard I can show you live and you immediately click it, chances are you might be able to see that ball. So here, right here, if it is saying 17.5, a freebie to Dhoni, 4 runs, Dhoni has hit 3 boundaries this over, you might either be able to see 17.5 or you might be able to see its replay being shown. And then you'll get to see the last ball of the over. This is why, like, you have to dig really, really deep into your problem statement, right? So working at Hotstar did not just mean understanding a tech product and figuring out video streaming and how video codecs work and how you build all these features. You also have to go and talk to the people who actually do this streaming and figure out how Star Sports works, figure out how Hotstar works, and then figure out, man, we can take advantage of this delay. This delay is a good thing. This delay means we can actually pull people in at the right time. So that's scorecard. And we mapped it. Our test was, can it be so the challenge to the Cricinfo team was, can you improve your latency against CricBuzz and make this the most superior?
Folks, just a second. I think we lost Anshumani's internet, but he'll just be back.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back. I'm just.
Yes.
Apologies for this, but I hope most of you have been able to hear what a cliffhanger.
Yes.
That I left you guys.
People are really enjoying the the climax.
So sent as
into it, yeah.
The best part is this is sent as a silent push, right? So the user doesn't even know there's a notification, because Android allows you and even iOS allows you for silent notifications, and then it comes on when the match goes on, so it tells you who won the toss. But the thing is, the notification actually stays dead if you are not looking at your phone. When you turn your phone on, that is when we start polling, and every 10 seconds we look for the latest score. So we start like scoring. So if you keep your screen on and keep looking at the notification will keep updating. So the best part about the user behavior was that people have started abandoning Cricinfo and CricBuzz and started just looking at the notification, and whenever the match became interesting, clicked on that, got into the match, right? So our notification. Now, I know this is like the standard answer, like the worst answer any PM gives. Dude, how do you get users back to your product? I'll send out more notifications. I'll send out loyalty notifications. I'll send out D1 notifications. I'll send out D7 notifications. And all of you must be thinking, oh man, like literally Anshumani and his team, all they did was like put out a notification. Sure. This is the most powerful notification ever built. I can tell you that the number of people who used to click this and click this time and time again to get back into the match. And there was a very perceptible, sharp increase in overall watch time for the bottom quartile, watch time for the median, and even the top users really loved this, because they were like, man, this brings me back to the match quickly, instead of me first going to the homepage, then clicking the thing. And our marketing notice, which like marketing, of course, had to send out notification like Dhoni is on fire and this and that. Now your text commentary is doing that, because this is a sticky noti, right? You can do a marketing notif on top of it, but we actually reduce the number of marketing notifs, which is like a push notif to the entire user base saying Dhoni on fire, will CSK win today's match, right? Like that big with the image and everything. there was no need to do multiples of those. You could do with just 4 of those in a live match, only to the specific users you want to, who have shown that they are, hardcore cricket fans. And the noti can always be dismissed. The best part is you dismiss it, you're fine. But suppose later on in second innings you went to the app, and then you exited the app, the noti turns back on again, because we know that you went to the app and you saw the match and you would like to see the score, so we immediately turn it back on, right? So the noti comes back on only when you exit the app, right? And so this is how you would problem solve, right? Like if you had, the thing is you have to dig really, really deep into user data, right? And figure these things out. But yes, sometimes the answer is as simple as let's build a really good notification. But then there are a lot of things around building a fantastic notification, right? I'm going to take a quick 2-minute pause in case anyone has a question, if there's some part of this which is not clear to all of you. And then I'll move to the next one. The next case study is a much smaller case study.
I think people are enjoying this, Anshumani. I think love the format. Folks
How do you know
specifically.
how to bring the noti on? So okay, so there's a silent push that you send when your stream goes on, and then it's a silent push, so the noti will not be visible, and you send a mandate file which actually has the timings of the matches. So it actually comes on from the app. So this is an app. This is a app controlled noti which comes on when the toss happens. When did Cricinfo? Why did Cricinfo collab? Cricinfo is ESPN. Cricinfo, ESPN is owned by Disney. They are a sister company. They wanted to collab. It was good for them. We also rebuilt their app, and their tech team actually became part of the Hotstar tech team. So it was good for them also. It took their amazing commentary team was really happy with this, because a much larger chunk of Indians were looking at Cricinfo commentary than Cricbuzz commentary. So
Nice.
this is why Cricinfo did it, for the love of the game.
Nice.
What was the result of the metrics change? As I said, there was a sharp increase, quite a decent number of sessions per user increased. Number of the overall watch time went up. The percentile watch times went up. We actually made a serious dent in the bottom quartiles watch time, the median watch time. I think top users watch time is very difficult to change that. That improved for the 70th and 80th percentile, 90th percentile it did not. Of course, that would lead to more ads being viewed and other good things happening. Right? Okay, I'm going to move to the next case study. And for those of you who have interesting questions around this, now post your questions to the Q&A session, and other people will be able to. Did every live noti have a link to the text to go back to the same minute second of the match? No, you can't actually map it, because you don't know when the user clicks it and sort of what is playing on the screen at that time. The idea is the text on the noti keeps changing every 10 seconds, and a ball's length is 45 seconds, as I said, end to end. So you are plus minus one ball, mostly plus one ball or plus two balls from the notification at best. Right? Okay. Scenario 2. Now I'm going to take you back further in time. This also ages me, which means I was still doing this thing in 2015, and I was doing this thing in 2010 also, and even before that. Okay. Now, for all of you who know, Practo is a healthcare product. In 2015, the primary use of the product was booking an appointment with a doctor. Right. So we had we had both a supply side and a demand side business. We had about, at that point, 200,000 odd doctors who were available on the Practo website, on the Practo app. A bunch of those doctors used to buy the SaaS product that was built by Practo, which was a clinic management software, and small clinics. And then we had software for larger clinics. And then we also had software for hospitals. And then there was a consumer-facing app where people could book doctor's appointments. It spent a lot of effort and invested a lot in building a great app, building a great website. There were a whole bunch of other valuable features that were built over time. Storing health records, ordering medicines, telemedicine. Practo has since then gone into a bunch of different businesses like insurance, etc. Right? I used to head central product for Practo at that point, so I was responsible for the app and for a bunch of these features at Practo. Right? Now, interesting thing here was, so while Practo had been up and running at that point for many years, one of the things that we always used to see, especially with our app, was that our app was downloaded a lot. So the install rate was very high. but it was uninstalled a lot also. These people would install it, and then they'd use it, and it sort of felt logical, right? Because this is not an entertainment product. It's not like Hotstar. It's not something that you view every day. It's not like Google Pay or Phone Pay, where you need it on your phone because you need to make payments. You don't fall sick every day. So when you fall sick, you download the Practo app because data is very cheap in India. You download the app, you book a doctor's appointment, and once you're done and you feel better in a week, you uninstall the app. And this was a problem. So we are like, hey, who is the user who's going to keep the app? So this came from the instinct that you can't build a product for everyone. So you have to build a product for a very specific narrow audience, right? And really understand who's going to be your power user. So who are you building this for? What is your market, right? Who's your power user, and what are their needs, right? So that's the scenario that we are going to now test, right? So I want all of you to now tell me, right, like and we are talking about the consumer app, right? We are talking about the primary use case of the product, which is doctor appointments, right? So I see senior citizens, right? So I think the thing that I'm hearing is age is one. So if we looked at what are the demographic sort of things that you would look at, people are saying age, and you're saying, hey, maybe senior citizens, right? Older people. Somebody said new parents, right? And caretakers. Fantastic. Keep them coming. Suhas, Aditya.
People with chronic conditions, I think.
Chronic patients, right? People who have, pregnant women, right? People with serious
cancer
diseases, chronic patients like somebody's diabetic, right? One other divide could be rural versus urban, availability of doctors in the region, right? Allergies, comorbidities, great, right? What other things would you think about? So demographic is one way you would think about it, right? But you would also think about
Maybe
needs.
corporate.
Corporates, yes. Are you insured or not? Corporates versus self-employed. Level of insurance. Remember, in India, we don't have OPD insurance. It's not really a thing, which means outpatient is not actually covered under insurance. OPD is not there, right? So only for serious procedures. And in fact, a lot of insurance doesn't even cover dental in India. It doesn't cover eyesight in India. So a whole bunch of, right, depending on what you have, right? But luckily, and going to doctors is expensive, but at least going to a GP, a general physician, when you have a fever, you're out of pocket for a few hundred rupees. Even if you break a leg, right? Like you break a bone, you have to first get an X-ray, and you have to put plaster and everything. And you go to, like, if suppose you were in Bangalore and you went to Manipal Hospital, you'll be out for a few thousand rupees, and then the multiple checks, right? Maybe even more, right? Your wife is pregnant, you're expecting a kid, you go to a high-end hospital, a C-section costs 80,000 rupees, right? Staying at a hospital per day could set you back by 50,000 rupees. So if you're there for 4 days, that's like a 2 lakh rupee thing. Luckily, all of that is covered by insurance, but only if you have insurance, right? So surprisingly, I live in Singapore right now. Singapore has OPD insurance. So there are a lot of countries which have OPD insurance, right? In fact, OPD is the bigger chunk of the insurance. So you pay a much larger insurance premium to cover all of OPD, and which is why doctors charge an arm and a leg. So healthcare is very, very expensive. So you have two kinds of things. Either like a country like Canada, where all healthcare is sort of like everyone is insured and the government takes care of it, or you have a country where everyone has either government insurance or private insurance, and the costs are very high, which is Europe, Singapore, right? Okay. Now, when you do this exercise, right, you should be doing this obviously when you're building a brand new product. But sometimes you also have to do this exercise when you have a live product in sort of really narrowly figuring things out. I'll tell you the trigger point for me for why we did this exercise and why I prompted this. Fracto was a young company in the sense that of the people around me, there were a lot of rooms where I used to walk into and I was the oldest person. And this is 2015, so I was 33. And even at 33, I was the oldest person in most rooms, right? There were people who were older than me at Fracto, please don't get me wrong. But within the product teams, for example, especially when I would go and meet my design team or meet my engineers, pretty much everyone was in their 20s. Now, here's a very interesting thing. When this was a company which the founders had started when they were college students. It literally started out in a college dorm, right? And they've been at it now 10 plus years, 12 years, right? It's insane that they've kept it going and had that zeal of solving healthcare. But they also started very young. They started solving this problem when they were 19 or 20, right? So people around me were very young. Now, young people usually don't fall that sick. The advantage of being young. You fall sick, you have fever once in a year. Until you have an accident or you fall or you hurt yourself, you have some skin allergy. Maybe young people meet dermatologists. A lot of young people meet dermatologists. That's the one doctor that young people meet, right? Then eventually you get older. But when you are in your 20s, how old are your parents? In India, we're talking about India. And even if you take away the urban and rural divide, when you're in your 20s, chances are in India, your parents are still in their 40s, late 40s or early 50s, right? Have they, and luckily they have not hit that mark where people start having health issues. Some of them will have issues like diabetes, etc., right? But in reality, when you get my age and when your parents hit their 70s, that is when health issues with your parents' generation becomes a real issue. So for me, it's like in-laws, my parents, right? Like I have to keep a very close eye on all of them. So in India, we start seeing health issues crop up after 55, after 60, right? Especially and massively correlated to when people retire. Till retirement, everything is fine. Suddenly people retire and health issues start showing up. Now, again, the reason I'm giving you all this is not to discuss healthcare, but actually make you think like a PM. So when you're a healthcare PM, you have to think about this. Now, when I'm surrounded by 20-year-old engineers and 20-year-old PMs and 20-year-old designers, none of them are really thinking about healthcare in their day-to-day life because they don't fall sick. Their parents are not old. They are themselves not married. They don't have kids. In fact, I had a kid when I was at Practice. In fact, I joined Practice. Like literally my first product release was happening and I was having a kid. But people around me were all bachas. They were kids themselves. They were not having kids. They did not understand why it would be serious that your kid is born premature and what you're going to. And now that you have to every few weeks go get your kid a vaccination in the first 1 year, right? This is a real issue. So surprisingly, working at healthcare and going through my own sort of like struggles at that time, I realized, oh, this is interesting. We are a group of people who don't understand enough about healthcare because we don't deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Our parents don't deal with it, right? I was talking about the larger collective group. So we don't really understand what a caregiver goes through. All amount of user research and all amount of going and speaking to people, we did all that. But unless it hits you harder, you don't really realize this, which means you have to do a much better job of doing user research. So especially now, we go from sort of the reason I picked Hotstar and Practo as two sort of opposing examples is, Hotstar is it's an entertainment product. It's a product in the space of wants. You could be a cricket fan, and if I tell you, man, you don't get to watch any cricket for the next 1 month, you'll be miserable, but it's not serious, right? Like it's not life ending. But healthcare is a serious business, right? So sometimes even based on the product that you're building a product in the wants, not in the want space, but in the need space. It's a roti kapda makan product, like the way I call it. It's a core need. So your way of thinking about it has to be different. And then you have to really figure out, sure, we can build it for everyone. And the reason that uninstall rate is so high is because people install it, book a doctor's appointment, and then uninstall it because, why do you need the Practo app at that point? You're not going to fall sick again and again. You don't have to book appointments for other people. You don't manage other people's health. You are not a caregiver. You don't suffer from a chronic disease. So all of this thing is to then get to the point of, okay, who is your user? So the previous thing is, who are we building for? Sure, we are building for everyone. Everyone should be able to book a doctor's appointment, but who's going to be our power user, right? Whose needs should we definitely meet? If we fail this person, or if we fail this persona, then we have failed. But if we succeed with this person and then we start succeeding for other people, we are good. But we have to definitely succeed for them, right? So this for us, it led to like a very deep observation, right? And you have to also look at your supply demand. For us, at that point, our supply was very heavily urban. So we said, okay, primary caregivers in urban households. Who are these? These are women in their 30s. A lot of them are working women, but a lot of them are homemakers. They take care of their in-laws. They take care of their own parents. So clearly they're married. They take care of their in-laws. They take care of their own parents. They take care of their spouse's health because spouse is having cholesterol issues, right? Which is why Saffola is sold to women. It's targeted at, remember, all healthcare products in India and especially health products are all targeted at women because women are the primary caregivers. A lot to learn from the FMCG world, right? They have children, which means they have to care about vaccinations and sort of making sure that, kids get till the age of 7, 8, you have to get like multiple booster shots and this shot and that shot. And then their own health. This persona booked 8 appointments in a year. This persona would never uninstall the Practo app. They need it, right? They need to keep track of medication. They need to keep track of health records. They need to keep track of prescriptions, etc. And then immediately, then what does that lead to? That leads to repeat bookings. You don't keep going to, if your mother-in-law has diabetes, you're not going to a different doctor each time. You're going to the same doctor. So you need a single click book. Or you need to like book the next appointment next month. The doctor has told you, please come back next month. So you want to book in advance. So you want repeat booking and you want an alert that, hey, you had asked us to remind you, or the doctor had said that come on the 15th of February or come on the 15th of March. So we are letting you know that you need to book your follow-up appointment, right? Because especially if you're going, say you're going to a dermatologist for yourself and the dermatologist said, I would like to meet you every 4 weeks, every month. Once I would like to meet you and I'd like to see the condition of your skin. Reordering medicines, right? So setting alarms, notifications for medications. You have to take, suppose I have medications to take morning, afternoon, and evening because I'm a chronic patient. What is reminding me? So then suddenly, the moment you figure this bit out, that who your user persona is, you start, automatically your brain will engage and you'll be like, okay, if this is my user persona, then this is clearly the problems that I have to solve. These are clearly the things that I have to work on, right? These are the features this user persona needs. And when you build it, then suddenly chronic patients also get covered. But here's the weird part, a 70-year-old chronic patient using a mobile app to keep track of their medication, tough problem to solve. Surprisingly, it will be their son or daughter who calls them up every day and says, Mama, it's your time for your medicine. Right? So we actually built flows like that, where the family member, the primary caregiver, can they inform the person that it's time to take your medicine? So like set up their app so that this person can send a notification to that person, literally, right? Set an alarm for person A to inform person B, right? So sorry, question from Lekha, how did you finalize? Yeah, so we did a whole bunch of user research studies. We went and spoke to a lot of people. I spent a lot of time just sitting at clinics and looking at who walked into a clinic, but not who was the patient, but who was the person with the patient. And it was always a woman in her mid-30s. It was like mother-in-law at the diabetes clinic. It's like daughter-in-law is coming with her. Kids, father and mother, sometimes both are there, but mother is the one who's holding the file, who knows which vaccination has already happened. Luckily, things have changed. Fathers are a lot more involved. I can attest to the fact that I was a very involved father when my kid was young and was responsible for all the vaccinations. But again, in India, at least, it's very, very clear that it's women who are the primary caregivers, right? And you sort of, who's holding the file? Exactly, Naman. You have to see like who walks up to the counter. The man only goes there to make the payment sometimes, like literally, like. But even then, it's usually just a woman in her mid-30s, very capable. And you can see, kid in one hand, file in the other, mother-in-law, father-in-law together, That's doctor day. That's the day for appointment, like completely sorted. And we're like, man, that file has to be replaced by the app. All these health records need to go in the app, because the doctor can say, hey, you went for this test. Do you have the results for that test? And you immediately have to show them that, yes, I have. Right? Are they digitized? PDFs all available? Right? So this is when you start feeling like, you have to build features to solve for this use case, because who's going to maintain that big file? If you're taking care of a chronic patient, believe me, you're taking care of a small kid. You have a kid and vaccination. And my kiddo's file was like this thick by the time my kiddo was 4 years old. Because when you're a first-time parent, your kiddo has one small sneezing fit. You're like, oh, the world has ended, right? And you're running around pediatricians and whatnot. So you have to solve for that use case, right? So this is where things started making sense for us. And a lot of the things that Practo did beyond that point were as a result of this, right? Okay, we are 71 minutes in, right? And I
Yes.
know a lot of you would have questions. So these were the two scenarios that I want to talk about. So I'm going to quickly go back to the thing that we started with, right? And then I'm going to move to the Q&A. So the contest that Suhas spoke about earlier, right? So in the chat, you had all mentioned your favorite tech products, right? And I said, I really want you to mention products that you love, that you recommend to other people, that you talk about. Now, what we want from you is, we want you to do like a product deconstruct, like a classical product deconstruct. If you were interviewing with me, believe me, this is the question I ask. And this is a very open secret. I mean, it's not even a secret at this point. Everyone knows that this is my favorite question, right? I remember seeing a YouTube video of like, oh, if you're ever interviewing with Anshumani, like go prepared with a product deconstruct, because he's going to ask you a product deconstruct, right? So what about this product works for you and why? What about this product doesn't work for you and why not? But if you stop there, it's not complete. The third question is very critical. How will you fix it? So if somebody said, in my interviews, the answer, at least a couple of years back, and even now, Swiggy or Zomato is like an app which people use very regularly. They love the flows, right? Like food is a very, like it hits you very deep, right? Like there's a very heart connection with food, which is why people love that product. It's a very beautifully designed product, right? Like my, like Anuj Rathi, who's a really good friend, I always sort of have like told him that, man, his team has done a great job, right? And people would actually talk about like, what about this product works? So you have to do like, I like these 4 features, these 5 features in Swiggy really, really work for me, and this is why they work for me. But if you're discerning, you should also know what doesn't work for you. Oh, this feature doesn't work for me, and this feature doesn't work for me. And this is why it doesn't work. Okay, if you are the PM on it, how will you fix it? So if you can complete that loop, so this works, this doesn't work, and this is how I'm going to fix it. That's the loop that you have to complete. Turn it into a blog post, turn it into a LinkedIn post, turn it into a set of tweets, turn it into a PDF, do whatever, but post it on LinkedIn and Twitter and tag the product folks, right? Like put your thought to this. As I said, it's a interview question. So literally it should take you half an hour to 40 minutes, right? If you really think about it, half an hour, 40 minutes, you can do a drill down, answer these 3 questions, then neatly write them out, bring out the insights, really focus on how will you fix it. Take 40 minutes this weekend and then post it, put it out into the world, right? And if you stop there again, that will be a bad thing. Do this with every product that you like. Believe me, I have like a folder of every product deconstruct I've ever done. I do this in my notebook. I have notebooks full of product deconstructs, because even if I can't type it out, I will pick up a product and I'll just start writing about like, what about that product I liked, what about it I didn't like, and how would I have fixed it? And then I see over time, did that feature get fixed, right? And did they come up with a similar solution to what I had thought of? Did they come up with a completely different innovative solution, right? And this is what will get you into the habit of like really, really thinking like a product manager. Product manager is not like a 9-to-5 job. This is the only thing you do. This is your pastime. This is your hobby. This is your work. This is your job. This is your passion. This is your love, right? My wife and I, now we are married. We met at a time when dating apps were not a big deal. She and I still discuss dating apps because we completely miss the dating apps flow. But because there are younger people around us in our own family and younger siblings and everything else, so whenever somebody else is using a dating app, I'm always looking at them use it, right? Like I'm very interested in how they sort of use that product, because it's such a great social product, right? So you have to always be interested. You always have to be like, to keep your eye on the pulse, right, of what is happening. And believe me, that is the one thing which will set you apart as a PM, right? Cool. Now we're going to take questions. I have another course for you guys. So
Yes.
there is a course that I've taken multiple times over the last 3-4 years. What I've done is I've put out the video in the wild now, and it's accessible to everyone. It's a 2-hour long course on decision making for product builders. Go to bit.ly/Anshumani, and I think Suhas or Abhay will actually post the link here as well. From
We've
our
just,
file,
yeah.
was just posted bit.ly/Anshumani. Go put in your email. We will send you an email with the course. It's a 2-hour long thing. Watch it when you have time, right? And now we'll move over to the Q&A.
Yeah, and folks, this particular session is a great part two to this entire session. All of y'all in the chat section, please do please feel free to share your feedback on this session. But we've added a link that is bit.ly/Anshumani. Please bookmark that and keep over the weekend. I think this will be a great part two to this entire session, right? So yeah, Anshumani, you can also check out. I think people really enjoyed the session. Someone mentioned the link isn't working. Can you all just confirm once if it's working?
I
This is a
can just
Kohinoor Diamond session. Okay, that's new. Okay, it's working. Perfect. Okay. A lot of you all confirm that. Thanks for that. So
yeah.
bookmark that and keep. I think it's a great session. And Anshumani is made free for this
It
cohort.
is
So make
it
the
is
best.
built on some it is built on ConvertKit, and I'm very sure that at some point it might just fail because it was a free landing page. So please let us know. I will go sort of go to the higher tier of the purchase. Cool. I'm going to move over to the Q&A section. So put all your questions there and upvote a question that you think has somebody's already asked a question which is similar to yours. Uh, uh, Suhas, I'm okay going for another half an hour and answering questions. So I'm all good.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks so much, Anshumani. I know it's pretty late for you folks. Anshumani is not based in India currently, so
Yes,
we
yes.
will
In
respect
Singapore,
that.
it's 11:20 p.m. in Singapore, but it's okay. I can be
Oh,
I
wow.
can
On a Friday night, right? So
on a Thursday night.
Thursday night. Correct.
There's
Awesome.
no,
Thanks so much, Anshumani. I think.
I start my day at 5:30 a.m. My first
Oh
meeting is
shit.
at 6:30. So all good, all good.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay, folks. I think extra marks for that, and please do respect his time. So we'll try picking up the most upvoted questions. So take 20 seconds, 30 seconds on going through the Q&A tab, so that if you like some of these questions, we'll take up those in the beginning. And I'm still seeing the chat section and showing some fantastic feedback coming in. So thank you so much for doing it in this live interact format. I think that really was something that resonated with our members. Um, but let's kickstart this on the Q&A tab. I will
Yeah,
go by the most upvoted ones.
yeah,
And maybe Abhay, you and me can do this alternatively. So I'll kickstart this. Actually, first one's pretty interesting. Given where product management is today, I think it's evolved over the last decade. With this entire new AI wave coming through, what do you think are the most important skills for product manager to master in the next coming, say, half a decade?
I think product skills will remain product skills, right? I think the thing that sets apart a good PM will always be true, but I think new skills will have to be acquired. So I'll break this question down into sort of there are immutables, right? Just like it's a classic engineering term that you would have heard, right? Like in coding, there are immutables. So there are immutables on product as well. Product thinking, what we discussed today, for example, right, is the work of PMs. This is what PMs need to do, and changing technology. This is what PMs needed to do in the pre-tech world also. In a core engineering company also, back in the day, the PMs would have done this. In Microsoft's early days, PMs would have done this. Uh, in B2B, PMs would do this. In enterprise, PMs would do this. In B2C, PMs would do this, right? So product thinking, like really diving really deep into the problem space, defining what the problem is, and then trying to figure out, okay, who are we solving for? Why would it matter to them if we solve this problem? Those things will, there are different names for these things, right? But I would say product sense and sort of product sensibility and product skills are going to be always useful. Then there are a whole bunch of other things around this, right? Like, how are you able to, what's your understanding of tech, and what's your understanding of design? What is your understanding of, and this is different from your understanding of usability, right? You can have a very good aesthetic sensibility and you can understand usability. Do you also understand design? But then, do you know how to work with other people? As a PM, your work comes out of other people actually. Your work is not writing a PRD. Sure, it is. You have to write a good PRD, product requirement document or a spec document. But your work doesn't stop there, right? It's also about convincing people and cajoling people and aligning people. So there's a very human side of being a PM, right? And I think that is not going away anywhere. Maybe somebody else could do it, like a really good engineering manager could do it. There are engineers who are very good at it, who are like, have a very good business sensibility. I know designers who are able to do it, but it's rare. Usually people look at a PM to be able to provide that sense of clarity of why are we collectively solving this problem? And I don't think that's going to go anywhere. And I think those are the skills, I think, which are going to become even more important in this world where building a product will become very easy. Putting out the code for an app would become very easy, right? Experimentation would become much faster. You can sit today, use an LLM and sort of like actually churn out code and actually like, spend a weekend and build a great app, no code app. But that thinking of why this app is required is still there, right? I don't know if a non-PM would have been able to go figure out that, the delay that happens from the live stream at the stadium to us is actually an opportunity. It's not a bad thing. Sure, now that I've put it out in the world, I think everyone is like, yeah, there's a 17-second delay. We should take advantage of it. But, we had to go figure out. It was a bad thing. We wanted to reduce that delay. But then I'm like, no, let the delay be there. It's okay. It's a good thing because it's a good way for us to pull the users back, right? So our team would sort of figure these things out and figuring out these insights. I still feel we are not in a post-insights world where insights will be auto-generated. We are still in the world where there'll be a lot of data, but turning that data into insights and then turning that data into not just insights, but into actionable insights is still on human beings. So I think that bit is going to be important. I know it's a longish answer to your question because we could just like do another session just on this, but I think there are things which will be immutable, and then there are things which all of you should get better at over time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So for the next one, I think someone was asking when you were going through the entire Practo case study is how do you build this mindset of actually coming to certain problem statements? I think in Practo's case you mentioned that this is something that can be done for an early stage company, or even if the company is in the mid stage, this exercise can be done. But I think someone put in the chat that this is not an opportunity that we always get, and this is also not the mindset that sometimes we are built with in general as a product manager. So they were just asking that, over Hotstar or Practo or even at Google right now, how do you have that consistent mindset which help you get those insights?
You have to be very curious, and depending on the type of product, you have to go speak to people. I think one of the things that which is happening is that, especially as you get into larger companies, roles get very defined. Like at Google, there are people whose job is to be user researchers. They are the ones who go and do user research. It's on paper, it's not a PM's job to go do user research. But I'd be a really bad PM if when I was working for GPay in India, if I did not take the opportunity to go speak to a merchant as to why they have a PhonePe and a Paytm QR code, but they don't have the GPay QR code, right? And I'd ask them that, hey, did somebody not come from our team? Like, why did our QR code go missing? And they'd explain, no, the PhonePe guys keep coming, and they do a settlement next day, right? And which is why we like PhonePe. Or like, I really like the sound box, right, which they've given us because it gives me a notification. And then the merchant is explaining to me, QR codes are interoperable. Anybody can use a UPI QR code and scan it. So why does it matter if the GPay logo is not there, right? But you go and understand something from like the merchant behavior. Now I don't even work on the merchant product. I only worked on the consumer product. But it matters to me whether from the GPay app, the GPay QR code was being scanned, or the PhonePe QR code was being scanned, or the Paytm QR code was being scanned. So again, I think the thing which again remains consistent, the framework or sort of the habit that you should build is go talk to people, go talk to your real users. One could argue that at Hotstar, how would you do that? Like everyone uses Hotstar, which is a great thing, which means that you can just, if you're building a very niche product, it's very difficult to go figure out which people to speak to. You're working on an enterprise product, you're working on a SaaS product. When I'm working on a clinic software for doctors, the only people I can speak to are doctors, and doctors who run a large enough practice that they need software to sort of run that practice. And yet there are enough of them to go and have these conversations about, sir, how's it going? Is the software really helping out? Oh, you've changed over to a different software. Why is that working for you? Like, what were the problems that we are not able to solve that software is able to solve? So talk to human beings. I think that's the only constant. And believe me, you will be able, your voice will be so much more authoritative even at your startup. So if you're in an early stage or mid-stage startup, if somebody said that, hey, we don't necessarily get this opportunity, you had the like a lot of PMs tell me, dude, you are the VP of product or you're the CPO. So you come into a room and you walk in with that authority and you say, yes, we are going to do a user research study, and I want all of you to go speak to at least 5. At QMath, I made it compulsory for everyone to go speak to a certain number of teachers every week. Otherwise, I set that as an expectation for everyone. I'm like, it's your OKR. As a PM on my team, it's your OKR. You will be measured at the end of each quarter in terms of number of teachers you have spoken to. Right? I could do that because it was my team and I was leading it. How do you convince, like, you're saying, hey, I'm a senior PM, or I'm like a PM in a 5 PM team and I've just become a PM for the first time. You can't convince other people that way. But if you can go do it yourself, nobody's stopping you. And then when you come back with the insights and you said, okay, I did something interesting today. So suppose you're working in healthcare and you said, I went and spent, on Saturday, I spent 3-4 hours at this clinic looking at the way people deal with the counter. Every clinic has like a person manning the counter, right? And these are my insights. And I know it's a data set of one. I've only been to one clinic or 2 clinics, but I learned something, and this was a very interesting behavior. Now suddenly, or I went and spoke to a few of our teachers, if you're in education, or I went and spoke to a few of our merchants or users, and you come back and you tell people that I learned something today. And believe me, even though we are at Google and such a large company, so many engineers, so many PMs, user researchers, people whose job it is to do market research and user research, when a PM comes back and says, I observed this today, and it really opened up my eyes to this possibility, everyone takes notice. When our chat starts buzzing, we have a PM chat, and like when PM posts something like this, everyone is like, and they'll share like a video of a merchant doing something or a user doing something. And they're like, I spoke to this old man, or I spoke to my mom on how she does UPI payments, or my dad, who's a banker, who does not trust online payments. So bizarre. So I took an interview of it and I sent it to everyone, and everyone was like, yeah, your dad is right. This truly happened. I did this with my dad, because he's like, yeah, online payments I don't trust. I'm like, dude, you used to be a banker. You built these systems. Now you're saying you don't trust this? And he's like, no. Like, I don't put my credit card online because I don't want it stored there, right? Because it has to be safe, because all you need is the FPAN. If you have the 16 digits, then everyone has access to your credit card, right? And even if there are websites on which 2-factor authentication is not required. An international Indian credit card can be used on an external in a different country's website and will work without the 2-factor. So he has a point, but there is also the fact that he has a certain view of trust online, but that's a very critical view. Nobody told me to do this, but you do this, and then when you post, it starts a discussion. And that also, over time, one of the things that all of you have to do is you have to set yourself up as subject matter experts. It's a very critical thing. Forget setting yourself up as a subject matter expert in the social media world. That's like step 10. The first step is you're a PM. You're a PM in this company. Nobody else knows what a PM does. If you're at an early stage, mid-stage startup, believe me, your founder does not know what a PM does or is supposed to do. So you define for them that, hey, I will also do this. I will be the one who will go find the right business insight or the market insight or the user insight. That's the way. Designers have to do that all the time. Good designers have done a great job over the last 10, 15 years of educating the entire industry in terms of like, hey, good design matters because an app which is well designed stands apart, right? And good user experience and good user design matters. And so designers have done a very good job. PMs have also done a great job, but the work is not done. You have to constantly do that job of doing that.
Yeah, a bunch of other questions, Anshumani. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, this is
And
great.
I just brought up one that is most upvoted right now. It's interesting from a point of view where beyond ideas, what constructs a moat, right? So, and I think usually in competitive spaces, one competitor launches a product or an idea, and if it works well, it's usually replicated across many apps. We've seen that with Snapchat. We've seen that now with Instagram, TikTok. Someone starts it, comes across all. Um, is there a framework to look at this? Should this be something that you should be looking at and taking care of? In the companies that you worked at, how do you tackle this?
Before my time at Google Pay, so I can't take credit for it, but our team did a great job. Scratch cards were invented by Google.
Oh, wow.
So if you remember, you made a payment and a card would come and you scratch it and you'd get cash back. Old as old as money. Discount on a scratch card, on a physical scratch card that you take a back of a coin and rub it off and you see 5 rupees off. But a digital scratch card which you could literally with your fingers scratch. Google Pay did it. I think within a month or so, PhonePe did it. And I remember online it was called out that PhonePe's design looked very, very similar to Google Pay's design. The animation also looked very similar. This is before my time, so I can pick this fight. So I'm not the one. I was not the PM on this, right? And I think I publicly tweeted about that because I was a GPay user and a PhonePe user at that time. This is, I think, talking about, I was still at Hotstar. And I actually said, hey, and I told somebody who was a friend who worked at Google Pay that imitation is the best form of flattery. I'm like, dude, you have a killer feature on your hand if your biggest competitor is copying it and actually making it really, really good. But they didn't stop there. They actually made the feature better, right? So you can't drop the classic example of like, Meta versus everyone else and like Meta copying things or whatever, right? Story feed came out and everyone had story and everyone had infinite things and like everyone has reels and whatnot. Sure, because remember that things which work become a paradigm. They become like a template. They are bound to become templates. You did something well. You did something so well that other people are copying it, and now it's becoming a standard pattern. Right? Before Facebook had done it, nobody had thought of infinite feeds, right? Now infinite feed is LinkedIn has an infinite feed and really good infinite feed. Everyone has an infinite feed. That is the way we do. Imagine if you were to build a social product and you said we'll not have an infinite. Like, dude, you need a place where things flow because users are now used to this interaction. We want to scroll up, all right? Imagine if a dating app said we won't have swipe right, swipe left. Like, because Twitter did it, we don't want to copy it. Like, no, dude, that's the mental sort of people swipe right or swipe left. Like, this is how they accept or reject things, right? In fact, I've seen other apps, non-dating apps, use the swipe right, swipe left for making quick selections, right? It's a really good pattern. But your question is important. Your question is, so this happens to you. You come up with a really cool feature. Competitors take it and they run with it. Why are you not running with it? If they have identified this opportunity, like to me, like I would go light a fire under everyone's collective bums that we have been copied and this is great. Now let's do the next thing. Let's make it even better. All right. I think, and I know I'm giving you a passionate answer as opposed to a logical answer to this. You probably wanted a logical answer, but the only way to compete against someone who has more resources than you and who is taken a feature that you spent you probably spent 6 months building it. They've done it in a month, turned it around, and they're moving faster on it. You have to move faster. You've thought about this a lot longer. You have more insights than them. What is the V2 of this? What is the V3 of this? Right? Are you making it better? Are you actually competing? Because you can always be like, okay, you know what, they are a much bigger company, they are a much bigger team, they have run away with it, let them be. Our users will still stick with us. No, your users are not going to stick with you. There is no such thing as loyalty for users, right? Users will go. Somebody else takes the paradigm that users like and does a better job of it, and that product already has better network effects, you're gone. So you have to now double down and figure out how will you keep your users in, right? What is it that you will do? What is unique about your product? You don't have to do what they are doing, by the way, because they don't have a deeper insight yet. You have a deeper insight. Can you double down and do some and take this to the next logical conclusion? Can you make it even better, right? You had an insight. Chase down that insight, because usually insights come in chains. One insight usually leads to another one. What was the second insight on this? Right? Snap had the greatest insight of all time, that the camera screen should be the first screen. User comes into Snap, show them the camera. You want them to take a picture. When Snap moved away from it, that is when things started going to hell for them. The moment they, over the years, they again come back to the core, the root of what Snap should be, things have again gone back, right? They now have a very stable base, and in fact a growing base of MAU. They're doing well, right? Not as well as sure Insta or everyone else, but Snap is doing well, right? And they're doing well because they focused on what mattered. They focused on the deep insight. So I would actually go chase down that chain of insights. You built this, you built a new way of interacting, a new feature. What was the insight for it? What does that insight lead to the next thing? Other people are copying A. You have to move on to B and C. Right? That would be my approach. Again, the situation and circumstances are very, very different. When it happens to you, you come up like, this is not one of those things where you give a very logical, I can't give you a playbook saying do A, B, C, and D, and you'll be fine.
Got it. No, thanks for sharing that. Um, Abhay, before you come in, Anshumani, just want to take a quick time check. I know it's pretty late on your end, so, and the questions are not going to end. So, just
So
want to take
maybe so it's maybe let's take 2 more questions.
2 more questions. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Abhay, you take one, and then I'll come in with the last one.
Yeah. So this is a question pretty much people ask during the session also, just show on stage. That you talked a lot on understanding users and kind of questions that you ask. And when you were asking the question, so many people were putting their answers on the chat around user, around how to go about what exactly to measure. But then how do you narrow it down, right? From ideas, from blank paper, blank slate, you have to narrow it down to idea, to actually product and the feature. So so many people had asked around this.
Okay, so there are, okay, I want you to mentally imagine like 4 quadrants, X, Y axis, right? On the Y axis, we have quantitative methods and qualitative methods. So quantitative is, if I looked at my data in example number 1, so the pure quantitative approach. I was trying to figure out insights based on what my users were doing in my app. So like, what is the concurrency at what time, right? What is the watch time? Purely quantitative approach. And then on the other end of the spectrum is qualitative, which is I will go speak to someone, right? About, hey, do you like the Hotstar app, or like, what do you use to watch this thing? Or the example that I gave of the merchant key, sir, you don't have the GPay logo, but you have the PhonePe logo. Why? So it's qualitative research, right? Like I'm asking the question, and where they give me an answer saying, I like this, I don't like this, right? It's qualitative. Then on the y-axis, we will say is something behavioral, which is this is how people behave, and is something attitudinal, which is this is what people say. So the difference is what people do versus what people say. Now you're like, wait, are people lying? The truth is everyone does. What people say and what people do are very different things. I'll give you an example. If you're in education and you go talk to Indian parents and you say, sir, we've built a really good product for math and science. We want our aim, like we are math lovers. Like at QMath, we were math lovers, right? Like we wanted kids to fall in love with math. Like we wanted kids to not have anxiety around math. We never said that we want kids to get high marks, by the way. That was not the aim. The aim was for the kids to genuinely love math, right? And you'd go speak to parents. Indian parents are, yes, you are right, sir. You are absolutely right. Kids should have no anxiety about math. I had a fear of math. I don't want my kid to fear math. I want them to do really well, and I want them to love it, and I want them to do it all the time. In their free time also, I want them to do math. Attitude. Behavior will not take up a QMath membership in September or October, when there is still 6 months to go for the final exam. Will not give their kids the time to improve and really sort of help. Will take up a QMath membership on 1st March, when the final exam is on 15th March, in the hopes that in these 2 weeks, magically this kid who gets 60, 70 marks is now going to get 90 marks, and QMath is going to turn this kid around in 2 weeks. Or any EdTech product, not just QMath. And that, by the way, is the sales pattern. And I'm not saying that people don't do this. I'm sure companies also push very hard closer to final exams. But parents also do make that choice. Our own parents made choices like that, right? Tuition classes go up when final exams are around the corner in India. And this happens because of behavior. What is behavior? I want my kid to get more marks. I want my kid to do well in school. If they don't do well in school, they won't get into a good college, and then life is not going to be great. So there's a massive gap between behavior and attitude. What happened to falling in love with math? No. Marks love. I need 90 marks. So are Indian parents lying? No, they're not lying. Indian parents are not lying. The behavior is the correct behavior, right? Like they are very aware that in India, education is the big differentiator, right? You get educated, you go to good college, it makes a big difference. And genuinely, they don't want their kids to be anxious about it. The attitude is right, but attitude is what they are hoping will happen in the future. But the behavior is the reality of today. So now on this axis, qualitative versus quantitative, attitudinal versus behavior. These are on these quadrants. All your user research methods are actually on this. So if you go, like somebody will do a 2 years master study to like figure out user research methodology, but this is user research methodology. Now think about surveys, think about talking to people, think about interviews, think about putting like a pulse survey, think about A/B tests, all of those, anything, heat maps, click-through rates, all of this falls in these 4 quadrants. Some of them are quantitative methods, some of them are qualitative methods, some of them tell you how users behave. So like when I'm looking at data from an app, I can see how people behave. I know how many people clicked the Saas Bahu show versus the cricket live stream. I know how many people watch a MCU movie and how many people watch an Indian movie. I know that behavior. But when I go speak to people, I'll give you a great example. When I was at Hotstar, we had a deal with HBO, so we used to show all the HBO shows. But HBO shows were only for premium English, so they were in the paid category. The reality is, in our crowds, everyone used to watch Game of Thrones. You go to a tech company, you work in a tech company, everyone's watching Game of Thrones. You think the average Indian is watching Game of Thrones? No, right? But you randomly go talk to some techie and say, "Arey, did you watch yesterday's Game of Thrones?" What is he or she going to say? They're going to say, yes, I did. They did. Not everyone did. Not everyone was a massive fan, right? All of Netflix's watch time in India was lower than the watch time of one Saas Bahu show on Hotstar. Still is. Ye Rishta Kya Kehlata does more watch time than all of Netflix in India. And I'm not even talking about the Star TV watch time. I'm talking about the watch time on Hotstar even today. Ye Rishta Kya Kehlata alone does more watch time than all of Netflix in India. And of course, because Hotstar is a free service, Saas Bahu shows are available, right? You can look at the data, right? There's no way that Netflix with its high premium charges will ever be able to meet that, right? And Jon Snow has died again. Thank you for that comment, right? It's the reality. You go talk to the average educated person and they won't say that they watch Saas Bahu shows. Dude, all of us watch Saas Bahu shows. You go home, visit your parents, your mom is watching something, your dad is watching something, you sit with them, and 1 full year has passed and you're like, did she get married to that boy that she liked and did that boy? And you've caught up on that story. and you've remembered, and all of you have done this, right? We all know this. This is our behavior. We will sit through that 21-minute episode, which will take 30 minutes. We will sit and watch all the ads. So all of this, like, oh, I only watch like really deep, fancy shows, which have a 9.1 rating on IMDb. Yes, you do. But when given a chance, you also watch complete garbage, right? You just don't tell people about it. So attitude and behavior is a big difference between all of us. There's a massive difference. All of us, if I asked you in an interview, how do you, as a PM, how do you educate yourself? How do you keep up with the trends? Oh, I read this one's blog and I do this on Lenny and I have a membership here and I'm part of the product folks and I attended these 4 workshops. And I'm like, man, you must be the most like up-to-date educated PM in the world. How many people, how many PMs, and let's all be honest, how much time in the last 1 year have you spent on educating yourself as a PM? How many blog posts have you really, really read? How many books have you really, really read? How many courses have you really, really attended? And I'm glad all of you are attending this right now. But the reality is, how many such hours have you spent? So if we are really honest with ourselves, right, our attitude is right. Yes, we want to learn, but we'll always have an excuse. Man, I don't have time. I have a job which is like, I work 12 hours a day. Like, I don't have time to like go gather these insights and read interesting blog posts and go, listen to I have not, Utkarsh, if you've done your 10,000 hours this year, it's amazing, man. Good for you, right? I moved back to the chat because the chat is so entertaining, right? But there's the reality. So again, there's a big difference between attitude and behavior. So you should always sort of try and figure out that where are people. Attitude gives you a lot of insights because attitude is what people want. That is what they desire. But behavior is what you build for. So behavior is your short-term roadmap. Attitude is your long-term roadmap, right? Similarly, qualitative and quantitative give you very different insights into people, right? Qualitative will right there and then within like talking to 5 people, you will get a much deeper insight, which you would never get by even looking at data for 1 million users sometimes. But then the reverse also happens. Sometimes you have to, qualitative data won't give you that thing of like how people are doing. So surprisingly, behavior is more easily seen in data, in quantitative, but behavior, attitude is more easily seen in qualitative because you have to speak to people, right? So yeah. Okay, one last question.
Awesome.
I'm approaching midnight here, 10 minutes to midnight.
Yeah, super hard to pick the last one, Anshumani, because lots of great questions. But maybe I'll just start back, and this was a question which was the most upvoted. Airmeet has this feature where it refreshes for some time, but this one was by Deepak, and it ties back to the point that you just mentioned. Many times, as an early PM or in general, I think I would love for you to chat a little bit about your journey. Will really inspire some of the early and mid PMs here. His question was all around, hey, how do you balance work and life, especially in your mid career? Once you've broken into product, sometimes it becomes a little difficult to manage. And second, in that only, if you could also chat about, I know you've done a bunch of different things from game design to product, and passion lies in storytelling and in that side. So I think I would love for you to touch a little bit upon that. I think it'll be very useful for our members.
My example is actually not a good example to give PM. So like when PM specifically asked me for like, hey, give us examples from your journey of like how your road to being a PM. My road is like, I took it almost feels like I was doing a classic spray and pray, right? So I spent 7 years writing books and like writing things for kids, and then I became a game designer and I spent a lot of time building games, and then I decided to become an entrepreneur and run my own game studio. Till this point, I had never held a product role, but because I was an early game designer at Zynga and sort of led a large team, there were PMs who used to report to me, and I was considered a more PM-friendly designer, game designer, right, in a gaming company. And when I ran my game studio, obviously PMs, designers, engineers, everyone reported to me. I was the studio head. So I was a de facto PM, but I never held that PM title. And then I went and became and officially had a PM title and a very inflated PM title, right? So I did not, in some way I had to struggle a lot to get into the world of tech and sort of like, was almost 30 in my late 20s and early 30s by the time I sort of was in tech and was like given the PM title. So you could say, oh, must have struggled a lot. But in certain other ways, my first PM title was VP of Product at Practo. And as I said, I was also the oldest in that product team. So, it was literally like, he's the elder statesman on the table. Like, this person should clearly know what they're talking about. And of course, I'd run a company of my own and I'd run a game studio. What did I know about healthcare? I had no idea about healthcare, right? So the reality is, but what can you take from my example? And I will say this, but I will say this with all seriousness. So even though it might come across as a joke or it might come across as I'm making light of it, I'm not. The PMing role, especially in tech, is one of those roles where other people have so little faith in that role and other people have so little understanding of that role that you yourself have to have massive amount of faith in yourself, your skill set, and what you bring to the table, and also the fact that I will be the one who will prove to you that a PM is important. Now, which also means that you might not necessarily believe in it all the time. So, people say fake it till you make it, but it is so true. Engineers don't have to fake it till they make it, by the way. Any software engineer, like, you're trained for this. You do enough amount of coding and you've worked on enough projects. You go in and sure, you have to learn their specific infra and you have to learn how they sort of do code commits and whatnot. Sure, all that is fine, but you're not faking it, right? You're not faking it as a designer. You went to design school. You learned how to build these things. What did we PMs do? Right? Like, you're a PM when somebody says you're a PM. Usually, you're a PM when somebody gives you a title. You are able to convince someone that, hey, I'm going to be the PM in this 20 people company. I'll be the only PM. So you were either an engineer or a designer, or you were doing something else. You were doing marketing, you were doing business, and then you convince someone that, bhai, behan, mujhko PM bana do, right? And they did. And that is it. But the thing is, sometimes you are not given the PM title and you're like literally fighting. You start doing the role and you start convincing people that we need a PM. I think I'm going to be that person, right? I'm going to convince everyone. And I'm giving an example of early stage mistake. If you're lucky, like I work with somebody who I taught when I was in my 20s and they were 12, is a PM now at Google, has been a PM at Google for many years, right? They were one of the APM programs, and they reached out to me saying, "Do you remember me? Because when I was a kid, you taught me." And I was like, "Whoa!" And then I remember this kid because he was a super sharp kid, and I taught both him and his sister, and both of them are PMs now. But he's actually a PM at Google, and it was mind blowing, right? And he's like, "Dude, you used to be a writer. You used to teach us, and you taught us science fiction and fantasy and comic books and this and that. And what are you doing at Google, right?" But the thing is, if I look at his career trajectory, his first job out of college is becoming an APM at Google. So he's going to get a really strong landing, right? Like, he's going to work in a large company surrounded by engineers. So, he'll know that, okay, you start off as an L3 APM, then you become L4, then you become L5, and then at L5 you sort of take on more responsibility. Then you become a senior PM. At that point, other PMs start reporting to you. You start mentoring other PMs. I did not get a chance. So a lot of, like, anyone who's worked here at some of the larger companies in India, if you've worked at a Flipkart, you've worked at a Swiggy, you've worked at a Zomato, like mid to large sized companies in India, you're used to this, right? Like, you're surrounded by really good engineers, really good PMs, really good designers. So, there's mentorship available and there are people giving you insights. You have somebody to look at. There's a template saying, oh, this is what a PM is supposed to do. So even if it's your first job, fresh out of college, you went to B school, or you were an engineer and you moved over to the PM ladder, you at least see a template, and which is great. I always tell people that if you're young enough and you can do that, please do that. If you're already working in the industry, then it's a tougher thing to move over. But if you're really good, your credibility is very high, then you make that shift. You're a very good PM, you're a very good engineer, you're a very good designer, you're very good at marketing. Make that shift. But when you make that shift, you will have a lot of self-doubt. You will have a lot of like, am I good enough? You'll always feel that. There are days, believe me, I'm I'm going to be 42 soon. There are, and I think I've probably held every possible inflated title in the world, from CPO to VP to SVP to whatever, right? I'm at a place like Google where you are a cog in the wheel. It's such a large organization, right? Like some of the, there are people around me who's like somebody who built, my manager is the guy who built Chromecast. He's the father of Chromecast. Like that is his claim of fame, his claim to fame, right? So like there are people here who like built things which everyone uses, right? There's somebody who worked on the original Gmail, and there is somebody who's built on who worked on ads when ads started. So when you work at a hyper large company and you talk to somebody who's been at Google for 16 years, you're like, man, my entire career is like what this guy spent at one company. So you will always have that self-doubt. You'll always feel like, man, other people have done so much more. Other people are so much more accomplished. I'm a 24-year-old kid in my first job in tech. What am I doing? Or I'm a 42-year-old guy in tech. What am I doing here? It's fine. Back yourself up, like sort of, keep convincing yourself, and keep thinking about the fact that, okay, this is, I have the skill set. I can do this. Keep upskilling yourself. I think the mistake that people make is that they think that the only learning that will happen is at work. And of course, the best learning that will happen is with the work that you do, the things that you build. But being part of a community, and I think I've been a fan of Suhas, and I've sort of followed what Suhas has been doing and what the product folks have been doing for a long time. And we caught up in person a couple of months back. But I think the fact that there is a community like this, so anyone who sort of puts themselves out there and sort of helps build this community, brings people together and shares learning, I think that's huge. For me, I think the selfishly, teaching is the best way of learning, because if you can, if you've learned something and you can distill it down and then you can teach someone, your loop is complete. That means you really have understood it. So do that. So which is why, participate in these things and put yourself out there and share your learnings with other people, but also learn from other people and sort of like be involved. And I think over time, even if there is any amount of self-doubt, that doubt will go away. A little bit of doubt, having that little bit of doubt is actually a good thing. Then you don't become like too cocky and too sort of like, oh, I know everything about there is to know, understand about product, right? Which should never be the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it wasn't past,
In Singapore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was saying the same thing. If it wasn't past midnight in Singapore, we would have definitely. And you can see the chat section. I think everyone feels like this was the best session of Insurjo 24 so far. So, and everyone's even requesting for like a part two of this. So, we will try making that happen sometime. But yeah.
I I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I think this chat is a work of beauty. So please send me the video, because I just want the video of the chat. Like I think
Yes.
if I go through this and like train an LLM on the chat and then use it for self validation. If you want a
Oh,
supportive group
absolutely.
of people, what should a supportive group of people sound like? It's people in this chat, and
It's
I think all of you have so much to learn from each other, and you gave such good answers. You were also involved. Thank you so much, Suhas and TPA folks. Thank you for uh, inviting me, and I hope all of you. It's 9:30 in India. Also, I think it's time for dinner for all of you. Right? If you haven't eaten already, please go have dinner and enjoy yourself and have a good evening. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, Anshumani. I think just before we let you go, we usually have a ritual of just taking a photo with the speaker. Folks
Yeah.
on the chat will then probably share their notes with it. So just a 3 second pause with your thumbs up while people get a chance. Awesome. Thank you once again, Anshumani, for joining us today. This was absolutely amazing. We will send you a blurb and some screenshots from the chat section, because some amazing feedback for you there. And honestly, really loved the format that you conducted this in. And I think it's great we ended with the last question, because lots of them said it was super therapeutic. And thanks for being so candid about it. So we will definitely reach out to you for part two. But thank you so much once again for joining us. This was
My
absolutely
pleasure.
amazing.
Take care. Good
Cheers.
night.
Take care. For everyone else, the session isn't over. Please do keep your feedback coming through. I think we will all take some screenshots and share it. And even if you don't get it posted on the chat, when you are sharing your session learnings online, please do tag him. And we've shared Anshumani's video link and his LinkedIn profile on the chat section. So please do take that up. Um, I'm personally looking forward to your learnings because this was a new format. I think Anshumani shared that he wanted to do the live interactive one. So do let us know your feedback. Did you all enjoy this session? I think practically getting some of the learnings from real CPOs, some real learnings from CPOs on exactly what they did in those situations, that really helps, right? And in both cases, I think Anshumani was in the middle of things at Practo and at Hotstar, right? Thanks. And thanks to you guys also for being so interactive on the chat, because these sessions are only
100%.
will only work when all of you all are in it, right? And that's why I told you need to be glued into this one and take notes, right? So some of you all were sharing excuses for why you missed out on your notes. Those excuses don't stand. Uh, Three things that we shared on the chat while Anshumani was sharing his session. We also have the winner announcement coming up next that Abhay will be sharing. But first up on the pin chat is the live thread. If we get more than 100 RTs on this, we will definitely request Anshumani for a live session once more.
Yeah.
Second one is some of you all did request us for the ISP cohort. That is mainly for a certification, right? If you're looking for the certification, this was one of the most requested ones from our previous inserter that you needed one. So we reached out to ISB, which is one of the best B schools in our country. We will share a link to that again, and we have an exclusive coupon code for that as well. So if you're interested in post Insurjo in taking up a certification, this is the one we've gone ahead with. Let us know if not ISB, what else you all would want, so that we can keep that in mind for the next one. But Abhay has just posted it here in the chat section under important links. Third one, and this is the most important, please do share your feedback. I think we share this with all speakers because that allows them, in case you all have actually enjoyed the session, we use that as a cue to reach out to them the next time, right? Anuj is in fact joining us for 3 times straight, only because every single time you all have mentioned that his is one of the best. So yes, Aditya mentioned start something like Reforge at what. Aditya, this is Reforge. In some sense, you're getting all of it at no cost, right? So in fact, the session qualities are only getting better with every insurger. Um, ISB, in fact, is a live course, so definitely sign up for that if you're looking for a certification from a B school, right? Um, why Suhas answering as Aditya today? Because I'm joining in from Aditya's device. So that's a little bit of a surprise. Folks, we'll very quickly go through, some of the slides on the remaining part of the session. We have some winner announcements. Abhay will be taking that up, and I will take up some questions in the chat section as well. Abhay, over to you for the winner announcements. Meanwhile, I will share some interesting ones.
Yeah. So I think the as Suhas mentioned, ISB has given exclusive discount coupons only for Insurjo TPF members. So I've already shared in the chat if you're looking to get certified from one of the prestigious B schools in the country. This is for the Rishi's session, best session notes. We have five winners: Subhadra, Aditya, Sanchari, Vijay, and Shai Prashant. So requesting all five of you to actually DM Mansukh, or someone from the team will be reaching out to you in case you are not here for access to Insurjo 2022 entire
Abhay, just a
academy.
small update on this one.
Yeah,
We will be reaching out to them post all these sessions with a form link
correct.
on Slack. So, folks, the message will be sent to you on Slack. In case we can't find you there, you might not be getting a message.
Yeah,
And if you fill up that form, you will get access all in one go. We're just making it a little easier. So, just a heads up, right? So, maybe some winners from the first session might not have received your access yet. That is because
yeah,
we have a form. Once you fill up that form, and we're just making it easier so that we can do it in one go, right?
yeah,
Someone asked, okay, hey, why access to Insurgent 22? That is essentially product management fundamentals on the academy.
yeah,
Uh, and that was the most requested one. I think last time we had a couple of other prizes as giveaways for people who won. In that, people requested for only this. So this time we've gone ahead and given that away. Right. So let us know.
yeah.
And congratulations to all the winners. Just wanted to add that in, Abhay. Over to you.
Sure, sure. Next, we have best assignment submission so far. Obviously, I think the deadline has been extended, but so far for the previous
Actually,
week,
Abhay, just another point on the deadline extension as well. This won't, we will not be extending the deadline any further. I think this was the first time we're doing it for, just wanted to clarify that we will not be extending
this
this
was the
anymore.
first week, so many people had some confusions. Many people didn't, thought that they had, actually checked the extension timing on the knowledge base. But yeah, this is the, probably the last time that we are doing this. From next week onwards, this won't happen. So yeah. But yeah, congrats to all five of them: Shri Krishna, Shravya, Tejas, Arushi, and Abhishek. All of you. Yeah. Um, I think I have already shared the few links on this. Slack link, knowledge base link is already there. On your LinkedIn, actually, you can, update is, we are already into the third session right now. So you can update,
Abhay, just a
cohort.
quick question. Folks on the
Yeah.
chat are asking you what is the extension, where was it announced, and when is it extended till? So if you can just clarify that.
Yeah, it is extended till 9th, and we have already mentioned, I think, on the all the WhatsApp groups that you are part of. So
Perfect.
you already, yeah.
Perfect. If someone is not part of the WhatsApp groups, join the links. We also share it on the weekly emails, but sometimes I think the emails land in promo, so that's why you might be
It should
missing
be
it.
on
But
your, it should be on your welcome emails also. Welcome email for Insurjo.
perfect, perfect, perfect. Yes, congrats to some of y'all for winning this. This will be the only time we are extending it because this was the first time. But yes, we aren't extending it any further. Abhay, just for you to clarify, it says 8th or is it 9th? Can you clarify that?
Ninth. We'll also update same after the sessions chat. So I think some of you has been asking for the WhatsApp link. I'll just try to update it ASAP. So in case you are not part of the group, please join.
Perfect. Another question I think we got a lot of times. Usually we keep the YouTube link available for 24 to 48 hours. Since it was the kickoff week, we got a lot of DMs to keep extending the YouTube link. It becomes difficult for us. We've kept it, the week one links will be sunsetted in week two. So we're keeping it that alive. Today's session, unfortunately, will not be live on YouTube, as some of y'all would have noticed. Reason for this is it's a live learning cohort. If you go back and see Ravi's session, more than 9,000 people have gone back. Now, yes, you might tell me that, hey, okay, you're watching it again. But there are people who know now that it's going to be available on YouTube and, do not come on the air meet session. But this is a live learning cohort and we are very, very specific about that. That's the way we want everyone to learn together. The flip side is yes, there are times when we might have office work, there might be times we aren't well, and that's why we had kept it alive for another 24 to 48 hours. Unfortunately, I think lots of people are just going back to the recording bit and miss out on the live learning session. I don't blame them, but that's probably something I would have done. So I think from now onwards we will not be having the recordings on YouTube. Um the
Yeah.
thumbs up on the reaction tab, is everyone okay with that? Or yeah, I know, I wish today's
I think
session.
every session we have had this request. Like after, I remember after Ravi's session, after Rishi's sessions, like people had been amazing session, mind blowing sessions. So folks, the entire Insurjo, this year has been curated to make it, the best of the best engagement, best of the best learnings, and actually advanced learnings for all of you. So all
Dude,
the
Abhay,
sessions
everyone's
are
everyone's requesting, can you just keep this one, only this one live on YouTube for 24 hours? What do you think we should do?
I think,
Yes or no? Can you put a quick poll, Abhay, very
yeah,
quickly? Let's see what people
yeah.
want to do. But folks, you'll agree with the overall theme on why we're doing it, right? Does that work? On why we this is yes, okay, perfect. Okay, everyone's in line on that.
Some of the
Abhay, what
people
do you
have
think?
mentioned, which is fair. Some people has mentioned that I want to take notes, and for taking notes, I sometimes needs to go back to the session. I think which is fair consider, and that's something I think we can consider for 24-hour timestamp. Yeah. But folks, probably this is just a third session. We have more sessions coming up. We have Ankur from WebEngage. We have Anuj from Jupyter, XWiki. We have Marty from Silicon Valley Product Group. We have Nalin from Moengage, Pavni. So many more sessions coming up. All of the sessions are going to be like this. So hope to see you all of you, in next sessions coming live here with me, Suhas or Aditya, any of us.
Awesome, folks. With that, I think Abhay will probably make this live for another 24 hours. But the whole consensus, as we all agreed on, was that it's a live learning cohort. So, focus on getting on the air meet link. Sometimes it's not possible. Maybe I think this one will continue. And yes, we will put it up on YouTube for 24 hours. So, go catch up on that. We will share the link on the WhatsApp groups. But overall theme is we want this to be a live learning cohort. And like Anshumani also mentioned today, everyone learns together, and that's how we'll be able to build a very strong community where all of us grow together, right? So signing this off, three main points for you to remember. um, Please complete the assignment. Please complete or participate in, like Anshumani shared, the contest or week 2 assignment that he shared today. I hope everyone was able to catch up on that. If not, you can go back to the recording. We'll post that. That is number one assignment. Previous week, please complete it. Tomorrow is the last day. Week 2 assignment is what Anshumani shared. Similar format you can go through, but really focus on what you truly love, right? That's a bit that you need to focus on. Second bit for certifications, I think everyone been reaching out to us on DMs. We've shared the link to the certification as well as the discount code or the access code on the pinned chat, right? So go through that. And the third and the most important one is that this is a live learning cohort. If you do not complete, the weekly assignments and the session assignments on time, you'll lag behind. The most important part is the hackathon that's coming up, right? You'll have to really start focusing on the D-Scope hackathon. So if you leave the assignments, every week's assignment, if you start going back on, then it'll be very difficult for you to catch up later, right? So these are three main points for you to remember. You can go back to the live session. We will keep it live for 24 hours, and we'll share the link on the WhatsApp group. So do definitely join that. If you all have any other questions, I think Abhay and me are both accessible on our Slack. You can reach out to us there. With that, it is Abhay and me signing off. If you all have any other questions, please drop it on the chat or on Slack. We'll definitely help you out. Hope you enjoyed the session. Please do tag Anshumani while you are sharing your notes and the product folks. And let us know what you enjoyed about this session so that we can bring more such learning material, absolutely free of cost to all of you. Right. Thank you so
Yeah.
much once again for joining in. Glad you all enjoyed this, and
Thanks
we
for
will catch.
joining in. See you next time. Yeah.